know somebody's in big trouble, and that somebody's name is Mr. Negative, because apparently he's not in Spider-Man Brand New Day. I did not used to pray for times like this. So then who the hell actually is the main villain of Spider-Man Brand New Day? Well, thankfully, we got a little bit of crumbs, and you know what happens when someone like me gets a little bit of crumbs. I'm gonna make a 10-star meal, because I got a couple of options that really might shock you. And at this point, the villain list is starting to look like a CVS receipt, and apparently we're gonna get even more. Either way, me and you know what we gotta do. We gotta talk about it. And boom. Man, you know what? Doom! You looking for this? So as most of you already know, we got 3 heroes in this movie with Spider-Man, Punisher, and Hulk, the Marvel's big 3 light. And I mean, substituting Punisher for Wolverine is probably like the best option they could have got for for the big 3. Which, funny enough, people said that this was way too many heroes, but it looks like we're gonna need these 3 because there's a fucking laundry list of villains in this movie. Also, thematically, Punisher and Hulk work for Peter, especially in the position that he is in his life right now. He's lonely, probably a little angry, and he's got 2 dark mirrors to look at to be like, that's not what I should be doing. But onto that laundry list of villains, just the other day, Daniel RPK reported there's gonna be a ton of villains in this movie. Like Tarantula, who was actually on one of those covers that Destin Daniel Cretton's assistant took a picture of covers that Destin Daniel Cretton is trying to recreate in the movie. In ASM 134, which actually features the Punisher as well. Boomerang was also another villain mentioned, who was featured on ASM 345, which was on Destin Daniel Cretton's wall as well. And most of you should be familiar with Boomerang thanks to the Ultimate Spider-Man series. And during Nick Spencer's run on Spider-Man, him and Boomerang actually ended up becoming roommates. And they were roommates. But we also know that Tombstone and Scorpion will be villains as well. I'm gonna do a little deep dive on them in a second, because one of the other villains that Daniel RPK mentioned was Ramrod. Funny enough, in a way, he's kind of like Marvel's Cyborg. He was a boss of a construction crew that ultimately had gravely injuries but was saved by Moondragon and Kerwin Broderick and turned into a Ramrod. Now, I would definitely classify him as like a D or Z list villain, and I would also classify him more as a Daredevil villain than a Spider-Man villain, because he showed up in more Daredevil comics than Spider-Man comics. But you know, Spidey, Daredevil, and all the other street level villains be passing around villains like left, right, up, down. So this has me wondering, like, will we actually see Daredevil in this movie some way, somehow? Maybe a brief appearance? I mean, we have Matt Murdock in No Way Home, so why not get the actual horned individual in Brand New Day? And shit, we might even see Kingpin, since he's the mayor of New York City right now, unless they do away with that in Daredevil Born Again Season 2, which we know is going to come out March 2026 before Brand New Day. I feel like there's got to be at least a mention about him outlawing all vigilantes. But I think I figured out a couple of options on why we're seeing so many D or Z list villains. Potential option number 1 is that we actually get a mention of the bar with no name, where we get a lot of these Z list Spider-Man villains that just hang out at a bar that is known to be all about peace. You can't be starting fights in there, even though a lot of fights happen in there. I could definitely see this playing a part. Now, I'm sure most of these villains, because they're D and Z list villains, are going to show up in some type of montage that I hope is intertwined with a job search for Peter. That way it could be very similar to the opening for the Brand New Day comic itself, where in the middle of him doing job searches, we get a nice little flashback of all the shit he's been through, where he says, you know, I've been doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that in between jobs. I think that'd be a fire way to get us back up to speed, and also introduce us to the wider lore of all the other villains out there. And obviously with the political climate and turmoil that's going on in New York City, there's going to be turfs up for grabs. You're going to get gang wars, turf wars, and Peter's going to be stuck in the middle of it. And I'm not going to hold you. We just got the suit reveal for Spider-Man Brand New Day. It's beautiful, but I'm going to need that shit to get ruined. I'm going to need it to be looking like this Jim Chung artwork here. If his suit isn't battle damaged like Toby in Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, I don't want to hear it, because I'm telling you right now, it sounds like they're going to treat these villains like levels in a video game, and he's going to go through a gauntlet. And I think it all has to do with damage control, because don't forget, Daniel RPK mentioned that there's going to be this giant action set piece that they're going to be filming tomorrow that features Spider-Man versus the Punisher versus a DODC convoy transport. And the Department of Damage Control has played a big role in most of the Spider-Man movies. I think they don't appear in Far From Home, but they do appear in the aftermath of Far From Home. And this brings me to the fact that they were looking to cast inmates for Spider-Man Brand New Day a couple months ago. And I initially thought it was going to be Rikers Island, which I think is where Vulture and Scorpion were locked up at the end of Homecoming, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But now I'm starting to think that it's going to end up being the DODC Supermax prison, which we saw in Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. That's where Abomination was locked up, so I can assume other people like Scorpion and Vulture would probably end up being locked up here. So on top of the DODC inhabiting all of these dangerous villains, they're also in possession of a lot of dangerous technology and weapons. We saw them seize a lot of Stark tech and Stark weapons, like the drones that Mysterio used from Edith. Fire all of the drones now! Which, by the way, we know thanks to Miss Marvel that they're using these drones to their advantage. So they're not just seizing the weapons, they're making their own and using them for their own reasons. They even have these enhanced weapons in She-Hulk. And don't forget, the DODC had a big role in Spider-Man Homecoming when Spider-Man tried to stop Vulture from taking all of these weapons and technology, which was going to that DODC super vault that he got stuck in. So I'm thinking there's going to be some type of breakout of the DODC, break into the DODC, if not both. That could explain why we have villains with these enhancements. There might even be some gamma-powered weapons because in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, we learned that the Scorpion suit is powered by gamma, which makes Hulk's role all the more important. And if I had to guess, Punisher catches wind of all of these criminals with new enhancements as he's unloading that clip on him, Red. Let me tell you something, Green. That guilt, that shame, that's my home, Red. So maybe we even see the return of the Tinkerer, since we know he gets a boner for making some weapons and shit. Maybe we get the return of the Shocker in a classic suit. Maybe even a Vulture, but the way he feels towards Spider-Man, I don't think he's going to be going out of his way to attack him, so I don't think we'll actually see Vulture. Maybe they mention him. But this opens up the door for other possibilities of some crazy villains like Overdrive, who was, by the way, was one of the first villains that Spider-Man stopped in the Brand New Day run. Really, it sounds like they're going to be adapting elements from Revenge of the Sinister Six, which featured Hulk, Ghost Rider, amongst other heroes going up against a plethora of Spider-Man villains and other villains. It definitely feels like that's the vibe they're going for, but with just Punisher and Hulk for Spidey. Honestly, I love the idea of this feeling like John Wick 3 Parabellum, where he's literally the center of attention for every single person. He's gonna get fucked up by Punisher, Hulk, Scorpion. I mean, I really just need to see a Scorpion versus Spider-Man fight on a bridge, because I've just always had that image in my mind, and it would be so fire. And oh yeah, inhale the aura from this art. Shout out to Dipping Car Art 1215 for the art is fire. Make sure you follow them for more elite art. But the bit of news that has everybody losing their mind is because of this report from Alex Perez of the Cosmic Circus, who is a reliable and integrity-driven industry insider. And he reported that Mr. Negative and his Inner Demon gangs, yeah, they aren't in Brand New Day. Huh? Oh, what'd you say? Yeah, Alex Perez did not stutter. It raises some questions I've had about this movie's production and casting process, because don't forget, they were looking to cast an Asian male in a leading villain role in an age range of 30s to 50s. And when we got the surname Brand New Day, any Spider-Man fan with a lick of comic lore immediately went to Martin Lee, Mr. Negative. But it is also interesting that not even his Inner Demon gang is going to be introduced in this movie at all. So, you know, he could have been in the shadows while his Inner Demon gang was doing some shit and we still didn't know who the big boss was, and we could save Mr. Negative for later, which I thought would have been a very interesting reveal in Brand New Day if Martin Lee, Mr. Negative, and his Inner Demon games were like the ones behind all the shenanigans with all the other superheroes going on. Plus, I was just really excited to see how they would bring Mr. Negative's power set to live action and what it would look like in live action with that stunt coordinator team that worked on Shang-Chi. That fight scene would have went crazy. Maybe one day we'll get a fire fight between Mr. Negative and Spider-Man in the subway system, but today is not that day. But I'm choosing hope. I'm hoping Alex Perez is wrong. But even if Mr. Negative isn't in this movie, according to Daniel RPK today, he said that there's going to be even more villains in Brand New Day. Like I said from the jump, this is a CVS receipt list of villains. What are we talking about? Like, yeah, I'm starting to think the bar with no name is going to play a huge factor in this movie. But that brings me on to some other villains that I think could be a part of this film. The first one I'm going to bring up is a rumor that I don't really believe at all. It's from Divinity Seeker, but in the past, other scoopers have mentioned this, that Chameleon could be one of the main villains in this film. Who, by the way, we finally got our comic accurate look at Chameleon at the end of Kraven the Hunter. If you watched Kraven the Hunter with no Spider-Man, no Russian accent, no hope. And I actually kind of like Fred Hetchinger in that movie. It's just, that movie was not the best. It wasn't ass. But what a lot of people forget is that we already have Chameleon in the MCU. In case you forgot, Dimitri from Far From Home actually was supposed to end up being Chameleon. And this was confirmed in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man when they used his exact same face and turned him into Chameleon, looking like Dwayne Johnson with the black turtleneck chain poking out. Okay. Black leather jacket. And there actually is a lot of interesting things you can do with a man who can change his face and can manipulate identities with someone who doesn't have an identity right now in Peter Parker. I feel like they kind of already went the manipulation and hypnotic route with Mysterio and Far From Home, so why would they want to retread that? So while I can see this as like a weird out of left field option, I just don't believe it. I actually got two better ideas. Because Monica Avito, who's a costume prep designer for Spider-Man Brand New Day, created a mood board for a villain on her Pinterest, which has since been privated. But it revealed a bunch of samurai-inspired armor. And if we go back to that little emblem on the side of this tank, maybe that really isn't the Inner Demon gang. And maybe it's the Yoshida clan, and more specifically, the Scarlet Samurai. I mean, take a look at her mask. Now take a look at that. I mean, shit, if the shoe fits, who's also the half-sister of the second Silver Samurai, who, by the way, we saw both of these characters in The Wolverine. Here's Mariko Yoshida, who is the Scarlet Samurai. And in the film, this is Shingen Yoshida, who actually becomes the second Silver Samurai. Now, this one itself doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because they're more like X-Men, Daredevil, Wolverine villains. But then I just remembered what happened in Brave New World, where they discovered adamantium. And on top of Wolverine's entire skeletal system, guess what else is made out of adamantium? This motherfucker's katana. And guess which country was the first one to discover adamantium and had it stolen? Japan. I'm just saying, there's dots there that are starting to connect. And if this stolen adamantium somehow wound up in DODC's hand, and like I mentioned before, when they get raided, I'm just saying it could make some sense. Or maybe we just get introduced to Yuri Watanabe and she turns into Wraith. I don't know. And now another very least likely option, but a fucking crazy one that I might as well throw out there. Sadie Sink, I think, is going to be playing Carly Cooper, who in the comics is a forensic scientist for the NYPD. There was a report out there that she's going to be playing a character named Carly with a Y, not Carly with an IE, who's a forensic scientist. So, you know, she's Carly Cooper. But they said there was going to be a twist. And you want to know another character in the Brand New Day era of Amazing Spider-Man comics? That suit and mask could evoke a demon and samurai armor. Menace? I mean, at one point, Carly Cooper does become a goblin, and that shit is just, it's not the best. But I really don't want this one to be true, but I could definitely see them adapting Carly Cooper as Menace instead of Lily Hollister. But that's my brain going off the rails, so I really hope that when we go off the rails, we crash. But either way, I'm just so happy to be alive right now and being able to speculate on Spider-Man Brand New Day, as well as bring you guys all this fun news. It's just the best thing in the world, man, and it helps me stay alive and help me be happy to be alive. But anyway, that's all the brand new news, my thoughts, theories, and opinions. Let me know what you think about them down in the comments below, and as always, like and follow for more.